Hi everyone, Kitch here from SoundFlow. Welcome to another edition of Live Coding Sessions, where we walk through and create a script from scratch. We've had Srijesh reach out in the forum asking about his Surgex power conditioner control. And he said, "Hi, I have a Surgex Defender Series Plus power conditioner that can be controlled over the network using an API." And he's given a link to the documentation and saying, "This is the documentation for that. I'm looking to get a way to get the status of the power outlet and toggle its power using SoundFlow. I'm not very knowledgeable about using REST API. Is it possible to do this from SoundFlow based on the above documentation?" I believe it is, and although I can't show you exactly how to control the Surgex power conditioner because I don't have one, I thought instead I'd use an example by showing you how I would control my Elgato Key Light that is just up there in front of me. And if I go to the control center here, I've got two of them, but I'm just going to use one as an example. But that's off and that's on, just so you know it's there. So the Elgato Key Light can be used, can be controlled using a REST API, using the get and put method. So I'll walk you through how to do that, and hopefully you'll be able to apply it to the documentation, or using the documentation to the Surgex, because I see here it has the information that we'd need. So current status, URL, using the get method. It gives the structure of the object that is returned from the REST API. And I think that there's another example below here as well. But let's have a look and see what we've got. So if we head on over to SoundFlow, just to show you here, I've got my Key Light up here. I'm just going to change this to Key Light. So Key Light IP address. So I've used a command in the terminal to get the all of my attached devices and the IP addresses for them, and maybe I can add that to the forum post once I've finished with this video. So the next step, now that I've got the IP address, I went over to ChatGPT and I said, "What is the API URL for controlling Elgato Key Lights?" And so it's come back and said, "The Elgato Key Light API uses local network interface with the following base URL format." And it's got HTTP and then device IP and then 9132/Elgato. So in your if your Elgato Key Light has an IP address of 192.168.1.50, the API URL would be, and then they've put HTTP and then the IP address right here, followed by 192/Elgato. So the common endpoints, so I assume this is talking about getting the current settings and setting the settings. So the getting the current settings is using the get method, and then it's providing the URL, and then the setting the settings using the put method and providing the URL, which both of these have the device IP address in there as well. And the information that's going to be returned is going to look something like this. So it's going to have an array of lights and number of lights 1. And I know that this property here seems to not change no matter how many lights are connected or anything. So this is probably something for future development. But the thing that we're going to be dealing with is this section right here. So now we've got that, we need to convert this kind of URL with the get method and the put method. We need to convert that into something that SoundFlow understands. So if I head on over to SoundFlow, I'm first going to get the information. So let's go const, and we'll call this constant of like key light info, and we'll go sf.net.http request, and this is what we're going to use the get and put methods to get information and set information to the key light. So first of all, we need to get the information. So we're going to get the information using this. So the method that we're going to use, and so there's a property called method, and the method we're going to use is get. And then on the next line, I'm going to add the URL. So the URL, if we go back to ChatGPT and we see the get method here, and we've got this whole line here, I'm just going to copy this to the clipboard. Then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to press paste. And obviously we've got the get method already established. So I'm going to surround this, this link here in backticks. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to pass the key light IP address into this URL here. So what we're going to use is we're going to use template literals and to put the key light IP address into this string here. So I'm going to put a $, open and close curly braces, and then I'm going to paste in the key light IP address there, like so. So there's one more step that we need to do to get the correct information back from the HTTP request, and that is we want it to return as JSON. So we're going to go as JSON, and if I roll over this, I can see that it's actually a method. And so because that's a method, we need to add open and close parentheses after it, like so. So now if I go log, and then I go keylight info, and I'm going to use command spacebar to run this this command, and as you can see, it returns exactly what we thought, as in the JSON right here that is the payload. So now we've got that information. That's great, because we can now use that information to update that information. So instead of having this as a fixed variable, maybe there are times that we want to get the information more than once during a process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into a function. So I'm going to go function, and I'm going to call this get keylight info, and then I'm going to get all of this here, and I'm going to go const info equals const, and then I'm going to go return info. I'm going to Option Shift and F to format that so it's nice. And now what we want to do is we want to pass in the IP address. So I'm going to change this to just IP address, and then we're going to pass this into the function. So now that this is a function, we're going to say const keylight info, const keylight info equals get, that should be keylight info, go get keylight info like this, and we're going to pass in the keylight IP address like so. So if I go log and clear out the log there and go keylight info, we run that, it gives the same information. But because we've created a function out of it, it's reusable, so we can call it multiple times if we need to. It may be unnecessary for this example, but it's good to do it anyway. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this information, get this function here, and I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to change this function here to set keylight info. And so to set the keylight info, we're not going to use the get method, we're going to use the put method. And so we're using the same information, but no, we're no longer returning anything because we're setting the information, and we don't need a return function there. And so now what we do is we add one more property here, which is the data. and the data, we want to pass that data in as a variable, like so. And I'm going to make this an object here so that when we call the set key light info, we can actually see what we're passing in as far as the IP address goes and the data. And also, so because we're setting using the put method, we don't need to make this a variable. We just have it like this. So it's actually a really simple call, which is just this call right here. So it's putting the information in there and putting the data in place. So now that we've got that, let's clear this up. So we've got the key light information there, and that's the let's change this and let's call this current or old key light info. And what we're going to do is we're going to create new key light info, const, and we'll go new key light info equals, and I'm going to make a copy of the old key light info. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to make an empty object, and then I'm going to use the spread operator and pass in the old key light info. So that will make a duplicate of that information that we can then edit the new object. So now, as we can see, the information that we've gathered, that we've collected using the get method is right here. And what we want to do is we want to get the current on value, and we want to swap that to off. So we've got the new key light info, which is a copy of the old key light info, and we need to update this slightly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go new key light info, and then we're going to go lights, which will get us to this section here. And because this is an array and we want to get the first light here, we're going to go lights 0, and then that's going to get us this information here. And then we want to get the .on value, and because we're going to be setting this, we're going to just go equals. So this is going to be able to set it. So now if I was to go 0, and if I was to now log new key light info and run that, as you can see, the on has gone from 1 to 0. So setting that explicitly is fine if we wanted it to do to turn off, but what we want to do is we want to toggle it. So what we're going to get is, because it's in we're going to, instead of writing 0 here, I'm going to copy this section here. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to use a ternary operator here. I'm going to say if key light info lights and the index of 0, the on, equals 1, then we do a question mark. We want to return 0, but if it's not, then we want to return 1. So that means it's going to toggle whatever it was. It's going to toggle it to 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. So now, if I clear out the log down here, if I run this once, it will toggle it to the opposite of what it was, and we know it's on right now. So if I turn my key light off up here and I run this again, it will say that it wants to set it to 1. So this is not actually changing anything because we haven't used the put method, but let's set it up so that we can actually set the information. So the new information, the new data that we're going to be pushing into the set key light info is going to be the new key light info. So to do this, we're going to go set key light info. We're going to pass in the IP address, which is the key light IP address, like so. and then we're going to pass in the data. Remember to put a comma at the end of each of these lines, otherwise you'll get errors. And so the data that we're going to pass in is the new key light info. So now that that's like that, so we've got that all ready to go. So if I run this now, if I use the run command button here, it will toggle the light. So it's off, on, off, on, off, on. And so if I wanted to use this to control my other key light as well, I could simply add, I could say key light IP address or key light 1, or maybe I'll call this left. Actually, I'll use it F2 to change this, so it changes all instances of it. So key light left and return. I'm going to duplicate this and choose right, and now I'll change this to 7, and now I can get this key light, duplicate this and replace that there. And so the left key light is going to be my master key light, and the right is going to be the slave key light. So if I run this now, it's going to turn them both off, and if I run this again, it turns them both on. So now I've got both of them turned on. So if I open this up, and you can see that there, they're off, and run it, and they're also they're off, and then run it again, and they're both on. So I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, let me know. And yeah, hopefully you'll be able to work out how to set the surge power conditioner to what you want. Because looking at the API information in here, it looks like the structure here, it's a little bit more complex. It says we've got devices here, and then in devices it looks like it's an array. So you'd find the first array that has the outlets, well, the first one that's is named outlets, and then you would find the ID based on the ID of the actual power outlet, and then you'd be able to set the state, I believe, to 1 or 0. So rock and roll. I hope that helps, and if you've got any questions, reach out, and hopefully that's taught you how to fish, and you'll be able to go through and get the SurgeX power conditioner working. Rock and roll.